Thank you, everyone. Welcome to Unlocking the Power of AI in the Service Industry. So for today's webinar, I just want to let you know we'll be recording this session. There is a Q&A widget at the bottom of your panel. So if you have any questions, please submit them during the topic discussion. If we can answer them live, we will. If not, we will wait until our Q&A session at the end. So today we have with us our speakers, Stephen Sigmar, who is our account executive at The Absolute. Stephen has delved into many roles over the last 10 years, from development, professional services, and solutions consulting to his current role today, leveraging his technical expertise and solutioning adaptability to find a path forward within all of his engagements while guiding his team. He's an expert in processes and best practices, leveraging insight from various industries such as energy and utilities, telco, manufacturing, and home services to support the Absolute's customers in their evaluation and selection of service solutions. We also have Peter with us, Peter McMullen. He's our solutions consultant at The Absolute. He's also a seasoned member of the pre-sales team. Peter brings expertise in service management, focusing on field service and improving operations within service organizations. His background in engineering gives him a fresh, solution-driven perspective that he leverages to analyze problems. Peter proves himself to be a trusted advisor with The Absolute and customers through his understanding of business analysis, process improvement, development, and configuration, and designing and demonstrating tailored solutions. And welcome, and Nicholas Heng. He's a lead solutions engineer at Salesforce. Nick joins us today. He leads the field service transformations for the largest Canadian Salesforce customers, with a focus on energy, manufacturing, retail, and telecom. He supports sales in developing account strategy and leading conversations to uncover customer needs. Nick works with product and support teams in building and delivering deep dive demos. He helps enterprise customers achieve their vision for their service organization. And with that, I'll just walk you through an overview of what today's session's about. So we'll have a roundtable discussion with Nick, Stephen, and Peter. And then Peter will do an AI-enhanced demo and walk you through a little bit what this discussion is all about today. And then we'll just take 2 minutes to tell you how we can support you in this AI journey, and then open it up for the Q&A session. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to today's moderator, who's Stephen.
Wonderful. Thank you, Erica, and thank you for everyone who's attended and make time out of the day to see this webinar. So we have 3 talking points today, and we're going to start off with, where do we see artificial intelligence in the service industry today? And AI has been such a hot topic, the past 12 to 18 months. I'm sure some of you are using it in your personal lives, some of you are using it in your business lives. We definitely want to talk about that later here in the presentation, but I want to understand, where is it being used virtually? I think that's where a lot of people are identifying AI, in virtual chatbots, phone calls, the internet, of course. But where are we seeing AI more in person as well? Then we want to understand, what is AI? We see that there are 3 functions in AI. I want to get my speakers to kind of describe, what those 3 functions are. And lastly, what is the most important step? That is quality data. How do we achieve quality data in order to get AI up and running? So starting with our discussion, virtual. Nick, where are you seeing AI in the virtual space?
Yeah, for sure, Stephen. So when we're looking at the virtual space, customer service, of course, is right at the forefront for how AI is getting applied. Predominantly in any type of call centers or customer contact centers, that's where we're seeing it the absolute most. Mm-hmm. And previously in the past, I think what majority of us would say is AI would have been a nice to have, but now it's a high priority ticket item amongst our customers' expectations, right? It's something that's going to also help with cost reduction. That's definitely the forefront of where we're seeing the virtual services is taking place in the call center. And I think a large part of it is how it helps with automation. That's probably the most important factor when we're seeing it for call centers or contact centers. It saves time, it connects the customer service department to other departments within the organization. It reduces the number of errors that take place because they have access to that information. And also, by that automation, by that increased efficiency, I think it provides a lot more free time for these contact center agents to focus on higher value tasks or additional side projects. That's definitely where we're seeing it from the virtual perspective for sure.
Awesome, and very well said, Nick, especially in the end, how you mentioned, let them focus on higher value tasks, right? I think that is
Right.
extremely important, especially in a high stress, a lot of workload type of environments like a call center. Wonderfully said. Peter, how about you talk to me a little about maybe where we're seeing AI in person, in real life, other than just virtual engagements?
When it comes to seeing AI in real life, I think that there's a lot of generative AI that's very important. And that comes from a place of needing to, especially in a service industry, needing to take in a lot of information and supply that to your technicians in a useful way. So we can see that in when it comes to just dealing with interactions, and this will be touched on in the demo later, but just dealing with interactions when you're like asking for help, when you're dealing with a chat bot and things like that, we can see how generative AI will work with that conversation that you're having and will create cases, will create useful pieces of information for service workers, for support workers to then pick up from where you left off and work on that information based off of the AI kind of pulling together and making a useful paragraph or explanation or summary of what's going on your end.
No, very well said, Peter. I mean, and the key word I'm hearing is just information, right? How critical information is to ensure that there is successful AI interactions, whether that's virtual or in person or any other means. So we keep talking about AI, right? What are the three functions in AI? Well, I believe the three functions would be descriptive AI, generative AI, and predictive AI. Now, within each pillar, I think there are many sub pillars. Analytics, descriptive AI can also be intelligence reporting, predictive. I think that's a pretty broad term to talk about historical versus future, predicting things from big data versus smaller scenarios like simulations. And then generative, I mean, it goes from co-pilots to conversational AI and all these things. But for the audience, maybe Nick, can you explain maybe what generative AI is to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So generative AI, GAI, that's probably what we're hearing about the most in recent months, right? When we're looking at generative, I would say that it can probably be described as it would involve different types of training models. And these types of training models is what's going to be utilized to create what I think we'd like to call original content. And these models, what they're doing is they're going to be taking learning patterns from existing data. So building off of what we have from a predictive perspective, the existing data, using that data to generate newer forms of data and information based on similar patterns. When I look at this, I think of taking inputs from what you currently know. For example, I think one of the examples I've spoken to you about, Stephen, in the past would be if we're looking at a company such as Disney, right? If Disney were to maybe go and take a shortcut and utilize generative AI, they could, for example, take existing data and information, like Peter has mentioned, that they currently already have. It could possibly be one of their Marvel films, right? Iron Man, Captain America, etc. Take the information and the data they have about these existing live action full feature type of films and be able to use AI to create perhaps an animated version of Iron Man that's in the form of a digital short because they already have that data, they already have that information. They can shrink all of that down and use generative AI to produce or essentially create something that's totally new based on learning patterns that they currently already have. That would be, I think, a fair description of what generative AI would be.
Wow, Nick. And I mean, your example there with Disney, I know we've spoken about this in the past. Like, I think it just paints such a good picture, right? Because everybody loves movies and it takes so
Right.
long sometimes for production, right? And CGI and all the craziness that goes into directing a movie. I can just imagine the shortcuts and the time to market with generative AI. That's really great example
Yeah.
there.
I, I think it's like shrinking the amount of effort required.
Yeah.
I guess it's that automation piece, right? You're not starting everything from scratch again. You're using what's there, leveraging that and repurposing it to create something that's brand new.
No, very well put. And talking about repurposing, I mean, Peter, talk to us about predictive AI. Like, what is that? How is it being used?
I think predictive AI is my favorite form. And that's something that we've recognized, humans have recognized since we first started regularly using computers, is that computers are so good at pattern recognition. And predictive AI just builds off of that. It takes your repository of data, whether you have like a data lake or whatever your company uses to store data, and it can access as well. Like when we talk about more popular widely available AI, it can access, general public information on the internet as well. And it uses that data to recognize patterns. And then it essentially creates predictions, it forecasts. And we'll see examples of that in the demo coming up. But I think that comes from an area of, certain things that we might see improvements on based off of predictive AI. It could be things like weather forecasts, right?
Mm.
Where currently we might be focusing more on a human understanding of pattern recognition, whereas when we introduce AI, we're able to recognize, hundreds of like 100 years of data across multiple cities and compare all of those instances and the time like leading up to a storm, the time after a storm historically, and recognize temperature gradients and compare and find matching areas like geographically and things like that. So that's an area that is a great example, I think, of predictive AI and how that might improve that area, because everybody loves to complain about how the weather people always have it wrong.
That's exactly what I was thinking, right? I mean, it's been around for decades, right? Weather forecasting, but it goes much beyond that, right? Like predicting when a volcano is going to erupt, earthquakes, tsunamis, lightning storms, tornadoes. Like these are all outcomes of predictive AI technology within that geospatial space, right? Understanding through historical data what might be an outcome, like Nick was referring to, inputs and outputs, right? What are the inputs in the weather patterns that might result in a catastrophic storm? So predictive AI, it's been around a long time. You're right, Peter, and it really is now coming to the top of the surface with some of the stuff in generative AI, like Nick mentioned. It really is building synergies off each other. I take a minute or two to just describe descriptive AI. I kind of went in reverse order with generative, predictive, and now coming to the base foundation, which is descriptive. And really, that is your data. That is your data being visualized in the most basic form, right? Whether we're looking at a chart, a graph, right? Trend analysis, pattern recognition, even recognizing a pattern, right? Math, statistics, all of these things that all of us go through in school. Like that is the fundamentals of AI. It's having good data and being able to represent it and visualize it in a manner that is easy to understand, but is also going to provide context, right? We can see a lot of information on the screen, but if it's not giving us any sort of fundamental context as to what we're seeing, we can't make anything out of that. So having good data, quality data, and then the next step is to visualize that data are truly the fundamentals of AI technology that we're seeing today. It's just gotten really fancy, really fast, really robust that we're seeing things like generative AI and predictive AI. With that, I want to move on to our next topic, right? Is how is AI enhancing service-oriented businesses? I mean, so many businesses out there are customer focus, right? That's what we call a B2C business. So many businesses out there are service oriented, even if it's business to business, right? Another business providing service to a larger business, right? So understanding how AI is playing in a service oriented space. I think first I want to talk about Nick. What are you seeing in your personal life through AI?
Personal life through AI, I think when I look at it, a lot of it would be when I am browsing different types of products or services online. And I'm starting to see that it's not just the traditional chatbot that we're accustomed to, right? In the past, I feel like chatbots felt very robotic. Uh, it was a call and retrieve type of scenario, but in recent times, I'm seeing that there's an advancement in that area where even in these no touch channels, for example, like, yes, we can eventually escalate and get to a representative if we needed to. But if we can resolve this at a no touch level through the chatbot, I think that's an incredible feat that's been accomplished by many companies as of late. And we're seeing it where AI can be adding to that chatbot perspective. It can deliver a bit of a more personalized, more attentive dimension being applied towards customer service. And this could be simply understanding the preferred language of the customer. For me, of course, it's English, but when I'm talking to some of my customers, maybe this is not so much my personal life, but intertwined with a little bit of my business life,
Sure.
understanding the preferences of the languages, using natural language processing to help customers like myself take actions on orders, recently from an auto perspective, I had to help the in-laws create a claim, and going through that process in British Columbia, where I live, was actually quite straightforward by being able to input information and it directly pulling data and pulling information about my in-laws available, essentially helping me auto-populate certain fields, auto-populate certain policies based on what they purchased, has made it significantly easier because for me, I really don't know about that information. It's not even my own policy, but helping them go through that, fill that auto-filling, that auto-populating perspective, that call and response communication with a chatbot is making it much easier. Because I think when we tried to call in, the wait time was estimated to be 2+ hours, and I really did not want to sit on the phone for that amount of time. So having that flexibility in my personal life for products and services is much more efficient than what it has been in the past.
Wow, that's amazing, right? I mean, just the pace at which it is revolving in our life, it's truly shocking in a good way, right? It's so beneficial. Peter, tell me about you. I mean, let's mix personal and business life. How are you seeing AI in your life?
I think AI in my life, and I mean, we're doing this webinar, AI in my life comes a lot from the business side. And when we talk about but when we're talking about the personal life, I think it's just the curiosity of being able to access something like ChatGPT, which is very widely accessible, OpenAI's product, and just see how it can act with respect to all of the information that it has. I find that it's there's some people that use it to try and create new recipes with things that they just have sitting around in their fridge. I'm definitely somebody that has that just has random like onions and sausages and whatever that I don't know what to do with, that I've used ChatGPT to just see what kind of recipe I could potentially make. And then I think that it also comes into play when looking at just the analysis of vast amounts of information. So that's it's a very, very impressive method of you searching through huge websites. Like I know that a lot of my friends use it for Stack Overflow, which is a coding repository, and there's a huge repository of information there. So being able to use something AI based to put in a common verbiage request and have it be able to analyze huge amounts of code to spit back out what has been posted in a forum or something like that would have taken you otherwise hours has been like a huge factor in that area as well. Those are kind
Very
of
well said.
personal uses for sure.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from both of you, it's augmenting simple things like figuring out what to make for dinner, right? Filing a claim for an insurance, right? Or it could be some very complex, time-consuming tasks, right? Doing our jobs, like writing emails or figuring out like how to put a presentation together. Asking chat GPT for some knowledge, for some content, right? So really it's about removing those low value tasks, and it's about augmenting our life and our tasks that have meaning and context to it. So really, when we think about the service oriented businesses and how AI is just everywhere in these businesses, it truly is from A to Z, right? And maybe as a consumer, we don't always see it, and maybe even as an employee, we don't always recognize it. But I think it is definitely here, and there are a lot more areas where it's becoming a lot more apparent. Talking about businesses, a lot of my prospects, a lot of the customers I speak with, people are setting aside a budget. They are setting steering committees. They are planning. They are doing research and development. What was really a buzzword, last year, I think that is materialized. Like there are planning happening in businesses today to get into AI and to start leveraging it as best as they can. Nick, I want to hear from you. Are you experiencing the same sentiment with your prospects and customers?
Absolutely. Everybody is looking to become more efficient and trying to optimize capabilities like these low value tasks that we're talking about from a personal perspective, but it completely applies from a business perspective, right? When we're looking at trying to find which areas are low value, mundane, repetitive tasks that traditionally has just simply taken up a lot of time, many of our customers, if not all of our customers, I would say, are trying to find ways to make that more efficient, take the manual work away from the employee from a service perspective, right? How you can make a service agent's life more efficient, giving them access to AI capabilities that would let them comb through different knowledge bases so that they can find the right recommended article instead of manually trying to search themselves. Look through previous solutions for this particular customer problem and give you a narrowed down filtered solution recommendation so that you're not combing through, spending a lot of time. I'm sure a lot of us, when we've been on customer service calls, we've been put on hold because they're trying to speak to somebody else. They're trying to find the right answer for us, right? That
Yeah.
process we can see visibly even in some of our current prospects and customers in real life examples in our personal lives, those areas becoming a lot more efficient. They're getting those answers quicker. They don't need to jump from various systems in between different screens to get that information to us. It's becoming a lot quicker. And even from my own business perspective, it's not a secret that Salesforce uses Slack, of course. But what I find one of the best parts is we get inundated with so many channels, so many messages, so many threads every single day. Utilizing AI within Slack, we have what we call recaps, and that summarizes what different channels, what different threads are talking about, pulls the key points so you can take away all of the noise and just focus on the highlights. And that's what I think makes customer service, makes business much more efficient, is to be able to have that improved, accelerated way of finding answers and giving responses to our customers and customer.
Yeah, no, it's really there, right? I think the pace definitely gaining momentum. Expectations too, right? From consumers to businesses, expectations are rising at unprecedented levels. having to have everything right in front of you with the least amount of time, the least amount of effort, getting straight to the point, the root cause, these are all things that AI won't solve for you, but it will facilitate you getting to the right place the first time and much quicker, sorry. So this is what I'm hearing, right? And this is how I feel AI is enhancing service-oriented businesses. I want to move on and getting a little bit more specific into field service. How is AI at play here? Peter, you deal with so many of the absolutes, field service prospects and customers. Talk to me a little bit about how some of these customer-centric businesses are leveraging AI in their operations.
I think my favorite aspect of AI enhancing field service is the predict and recommend like area of the industry. And that comes from what we discussed earlier, predictive AI, looking at your data repository and then making intelligent forecast, predictions. And not just that, but being able to create and suggest actions from those predictions. And I think that that is the key. That's one of my favorite things about AI when you add it to the field service industry is it's not just data for data's sake. It's not just forecasting for forecasting's sake. It is actionable predictions. And I think that that's something huge is that it's doing the work for you as well of saying, here are the paths forward based off of these predictions we've made. And it's not, mandatory. You don't have to take those paths, but we're looking at things like looking at the history of, a certain type of work request from your field service and section of your company, looking at all the historical data and recognizing that on the repair jobs that you do, typically there is an additional work request that follows up days later where they have to request a new part or a replenishment of this or whatever. AI, predictive AI, recognizing those two connections and then making a recommendation that rather than having two separate work requests, reducing that truck roll and having them both occur at the same time, recommending that because you're doing this repair job, you should also maybe think about having this product on hand because the majority of customers need both one after the other, is somewhere where we can start to see predictive AI begin to enhance field service management and field service solutions.
Wow, just thinking about what I said before, like getting it right the first time, right?
Exactly.
Like thinking a little bit beyond perhaps what the issue arose as and trying to understand how can I close this issue once and for all, right? Full stop, full period. Really well said, Peter. Nick, I mean, field service, right? I'd say like your bread and butter. What are some of the AI use cases you're seeing here in the space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Peter makes a great point that predict and recommend capability, that's probably the key to getting the job done right and done the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Focused on operational excellence, I think. It's to make sure that you're doing the work, doing the correct work, and getting it done efficiently. And then I think from the flip side, the other area that we also wanted to talk about would be probably what we would want to describe as how we can help augment and enhance that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from just doing the work perfectly and getting it done, checking all the boxes, that's excellent. But another way you can even deliver more value to your end customers would be this ability to make them feel valued, provide specialized, very custom, personalized interactions with your customers. And I think how AI is able to help do this is when we look at field service specifically, when you're going as a technician to a customer, you're about to go to your next job. You want to know, okay, what type of work do I need to do? You don't want to flip through a ton of different sheets of information. You want everything available in one single app. But additionally, you also want to know any knowledge about the customer and their previous history, all of that should be made readily available so that as a technician, you quickly know what the customer cares about. This is the third visit for the same issue. That's of course not ideal, but as a technician, if you know that, you understand that the customer right off the bat, they may be a little bit combative, they may be already a bit upset. So you're prepared for that type of emotion coming from the customer. You would understand, for example, the history of that equipment that you're fixing. Is it the first time this issue's taken place? Has this equipment been around for a very long time at the customer's site, etc.? All of this provides you insight. And furthermore, what AI can also provide would be that tribal knowledge that has been kept in different notes in previous appointments, in previous work histories. There's an angry dog out front, for example, if it's a residential customer, or different types of tribal knowledge where the technician would not have previously known just by looking at the work itself. That can be surfaced up in a summary format, a briefing format for the technician, so that they can go right in their first interaction with that customer. They can be personalized, they can empathize with exactly what the customer is feeling and be able to try to resolve the issue, not just from a perfect operational perspective, but also from a more human perspective, to make the customer feel like this technician knows my issues and my challenges and they get it. And you want to do that right off the bat. I think that area of enhancing the customer experience, coupled with what Peter's talking about with being excellent from a predict and then recommendation perspective, that's what provides a holistic field service experience for any customer, essentially.
I mean, you guys just ace that, right? Like, it honestly, it's about the operations and doing and increasing and perfecting your operational excellence. And it's also about the human side, the NPS, the CSAT, the interactions, the engagements, the loyalty of the customer, right? Good service will lead to revenue down the line. And good service is a combination of technical excellence, but also human sentiment, right? And that interaction and being able to monitor that. And for both, AI is there to help conjure up all of that massive amount of data and just surface it and present it to you in a way that allows you to augment and enhance the things you got to do in your field service operations. I think you both wonderfully said that. With that, we are going to start moving into our demo section of this webinar. And I just want to go through a few slides here just to preface everything and set up the stage. So talking about our demo, if we can move to the next slide. Really, it's about transforming challenges into opportunities with AI. Traditionally, field service, contact centers, they've all been seen as a cost center. Transforming this into a profit center, into revenue potential, I think is what AI is enabling many service organizations to do so. Looking at the first one, reactive. I mean, we can all guess it's going from reactive to now being proactive, right? How do we do more with the time that we have? Let's not ask the customer, hey, what's been happening? We should already know, right? We shouldn't wait for the asset to go down. Prediction should be telling us, hey, this asset might be needing some servicing, the next 30 days. Inefficient handoffs. I mean, it was already mentioned. When we're on hold, the call center agent is probably just asking their buddy, like, hey, like, have you seen this issue? Being able to now be more streamlined and more transparent in the communication and the accessibility of information, AI is going to help with that. Unsatisfactory customer experience. I mean, you're not going to know what to say and how to interact with that customer if you don't have the history, if you don't have everything that's going to enable you to enhance and just have a human to human conversation with them, right? Treating your customers like they're your actual friends or family. Everybody wants that type of experience. And I think if AI can start surfacing, right, angry dog, mad customer because of multiple repairs, or even happy customer, right? Happy customer because they just had great service. I think both are equally important. And last thing, missed opportunities. I mean, AI with the predictions and recommendations about getting it right the first time, that's increasing your potential in your business, potential for upsell, for cross sell, for upgrades, for additional warranty services, for additional contract terms and agreements, right? AI can help surface all of these things to empower your business to increase its revenue potentials. With that, we're going to pass this over to Peter. He's going to give a brief here on the demo, and then we're going to get into it. We'll go to the next slide.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Yeah, just the next slide here, just to talk about the personas. So for our demo, we're going to be looking at two sides of the business. We've got Noah, our customer service rep, and then on our client side, we have Simon, who's the site operations manager. And then on the next slide, we'll see a quick synopsis of our demo. So we'll have Simon, our customer, the site operations manager. He has an engine issue with a piece of equipment that's being rented from our company, which we're calling Diab Drives today. And so he goes to the customer portal to start to chat, receive some help. The chat bot will suggest some repair steps, will reference some knowledge articles, but Simon still needs help. So the chat bot will generate and fill in the information for a case. That will then be handed over to Noah, our customer service rep, who will then handle the case, prepare a quote. That'll generate into being sent off to Simon to approve it. The quote will then turn into a work order, and we'll follow everything through that entire process. And then we'll end off reviewing some dashboards and some analytic information. So I'll take over sharing now, and we'll get going. So just wanted to make sure, can I get a thumbs up from someone that they're seeing my screen?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so what I am looking at now is I've logged into Diab Drive's customer portal as Simon, who is, as a reminder, that's our operations manager at the customer, who's called Data Centric. So the customer portal is where Simon can get support. He can view the equipment that he's rented, any appointments that might be occurring, billing information, search the knowledge base, and just have general access to everything Diab Drives that he and Diab Drives kind of interact with. Data Centric, Simon's company, has rented out a few pieces of equipment from Diab Drives, and on one of their sites, an employee has told Simon that they're having problems with starting their skid steer loader. So Simon's has come to the portal. He's going to click on chat with an expert at the bottom here, and that's going to load a chat window, which is going to open with Acme Bot, which is Diab Drive's chat bot. So immediately Simon is given some options as to how to progress with the conversation. He knows that this is an AI-based digital assistant. It's told that at the beginning there. And so he knows he's got a report a problem with his equipment, selects that. That triggers the next stage. So Acme Bot then goes into Diab Drive's database, finds Simon, finds the account associated with Simon, and then sees all the equipment that has been rented to Simon and lists that here. So he knows that it's skid steer loader 1 that he's having the issues with. So he's going to click there. And now he's prompted for some more information so that the chatbot can start to try and funnel him in the right direction. So he's looking for some equipment troubleshooting information. He's starting general. We'll see how it funnels down. So he's going to start there. And the bot is then still a little unsure, still wants a little bit more information as it's kind of searching and compiling some responses. So he's going to say that the engine is not starting. And now the bot is going through all of the knowledge information, and we can see that these texts begin to pop up. This is, as it says, the bot has gone into a knowledge article and has pulled excerpts from that knowledge article and is spitting them back out at Simon. So, and this is huge because we are not having Simon have to spend, minutes, potentially an hour, searching through the knowledge base, searching through FAQs, trying to find this information. It's provided to him immediately. It's all, set out in steps. He can click on the hyperlink to go to the knowledge article itself. And he has all that information immediately at his fingertips. He can then step away because he's not interacting with a human. He can walk away. He can go and see if these steps actually help. He can, just review them. Maybe he's able to just say, no, we've tried all of that already. That's not solving any of the issues. So in either case, it's not able to resolve his issue. And so he needs to create a case and get in touch with an actual resource at Diab Drives to get some more help. So he clicks create a case for me. And not only does that happen, but the bot lets him know that based off all the information that it's just pulled in from this conversation, based on information about Simon's account, potentially the equipment that he's rented, it's a high priority case. And it tells him the service level agreement that's potentially been made between Diab Drives and Data Centric that he should receive a reply within 30 minutes. So Simon is all set. He's able to now sit back and wait for something to come through. So he's going to close that chat, and we're going to jump over to our customer support rep, Noah, on the other side of this issue. So we're now in Diab Drives customer support. This is Noah, and he has received a new open case on his listing. This case has been gone through some really impressive Einstein case classification here from Salesforce. So Einstein has parsed the conversation that the chatbot AcmeBot had with Simon and has filled in key details like the customer, the account associated with it, the asset that we're talking about, and then also pulled in additional information like the asset's warranty, has added the knowledge article that was suggested in the conversation for further use, further review for auditing purposes. This could again also be for, we'll see in the future, some reporting metrics on which knowledge articles are most accessed by bots or supplied to customers to resolve their issues. And we can see that based on Einstein's case classification, as I discussed earlier, we've got the priority has been set. There's a subject that's been included. There's other things like the case type, the case reason have all been populated automatically. So this has all been done, and it has been done without any manual involvement from Noah. He's just got this sitting in front of him. He's ready to start going. Some other things that I want to call out on the side here is we've got article recommendations down the side here that in this knowledge article area automatically filtered based off the information in the case so that we know what it's filtering only the articles that actually matter and things that we could potentially help use on this case. We've also got an Einstein prediction window here. So this is looking, and again, we talked about predictive AI. This is looking into the history, the past, the historical data in the data repository for Diab Drives, and it's comparing the standard average for amount of hours before closing a case across all other customers and comparing it to Data Centric. So Noah can see that on average, Data Centric closes cases much quicker. This could be pointing towards, a serious SLA. It could be pointing towards a very responsive, very helpful customer. Again, the purpose of AI and doing all of this is providing Noah with easily accessible information that he can then action later on. So it's all of this is immediately visible to him. He doesn't have to parse through historical data of past cases with this customer. He doesn't have to do any of that. It's all populated right here. Now, the crowning jewel of all of this is Einstein's next best action. And it's a bit of a tongue twister, but it's fantastic. So we can see next best action right up here. And what we have from next best action is, again, this is would be predictive AI functioning here. Einstein is recognizing that there's an asset tied to this case. It is recognizing that since the case is a product down situation, and we know that we will have to schedule a repair for this, that Einstein is prompting us to check the asset's warranty beforehand. This is because it immediately understands that the repair may no longer be covered under the warranty, and maybe we have to create a quote for these services rather than just being able to tag it under the warranty. So again, this is just supporting Noah. It's not forcing Noah to do anything. It's just saying, hey, here's some help in case you forget, in case this slips your mind, in case there's a bunch of other things going on, here is a recommendation. And no, it doesn't have to follow this, but this is the demo, we're going to follow it. So Noah clicks on accept here and is immediately shot into a workflow for checking this warranty, and immediately knows, okay, so the asset warranty has expired. We can scroll down. We've got some information on the expiry right down here. So Noah now knows, okay, so I have to put in some work. We're not done. I can't, this isn't as open and shut as it might hopefully be. And so he has to decide how to proceed based on either generating a new service contract that will be tied over until a new warranty is talked about, or a one-time repair. For right now, Noah's going to focus on the one-time repair, and then this might lead into further discussion on service contracts. So when he clicks one-time repair, rather than just saying, okay, so now go and deal with generating a one-time repair quote, et cetera, we're going to keep helping Noah down this path, putting him on a flow, on a workflow. So it's going, the AI or the process here goes back to the case, grabs that initial knowledge article that we tried to help Simon with, but that knowledge article has more details that are only Diab drives engineers can really manage or benefit from. So it provides some information here. Again, pulling excerpts from the knowledge article. It's linked, the knowledge article is linked right here, but we've got 3 different pieces of equipment or services that the knowledge article is saying, based off what we are hearing, based off the fact that this is an engine issue on a skid steer loader that we own. Here are 2 parts, a fuel injector and a fuel filter, and the service labor cost that are going to probably need to be added to this quote that you are generating for this one-time repair. Not just that, but we've got a little caveat down here saying this is based off of our experience, the know-how of our service agents, yada, yada, yada. So again, all of this is just automatically generated to help Noah along this process. So this stage is giving Noah information on what's about to happen. When he clicks continue, now he's provided with the actioning of that information. So it automatically puts together, these are the items that we recommend putting on a quote. Noah can go in and uncheck those products if he disagrees with any of the information, if he's found out new information that maybe points towards the fact that this will be unnecessary. But for this case, all of this is applicable, is appropriate. And so Noah is going to keep all of those items and click continue and follow down the path. Now, again, this would potentially, if Noah was doing it all himself, be the end of it. He would select those items based off of his research of time spent going through the knowledge article manually, adding in manually those items, and then sending off the quote. But because he's being supported by predictive and generative AI, there's a cross-sell that's been identified, and there's that rocket ship showing him that this is an exciting opportunity. And again, as we called out in that initial discussion, what our AI is recognizing is that in the past, when we are fixing skid steer loaders, there is also some lift cylinder issues that tag along with similar engine troubles that we're seeing on this case. So our AI is predicting and then recommending, hey, it's not a bad idea to at least look into, to troubleshoot, to do a diagnostic check on that lift cylinder while you're there, improving customer service, because you're looking ahead, you're trying to take their worries into consideration. But not just that, it provides some reasoning behind that. So we can see that we've got some predictors that are explaining why this is recommended. So the predictors are what is causing what is behind this being recommended. So the product is a lift cylinder diagnostic check. So that means that when we do lift cylinder diagnostic checks, that decreases the time until maintenance occurs, or that increases the time until the next maintenance occurs. So prolonging the usefulness of this item. The asset is a skid steer loader and it's been used for more than 1,000 hours. So that means that it's more likely to run into these kind of lift cylinder issues. The last upgrade date was within 90 days. There is, sandy ground, so there might be a lot of sand caught up in the lift cylinder, in the engine, things like that. And so this is just highlighting the predictors and giving, again, NOAA information that he can then act on. So he recognizes, okay, so there's a cross-sell opportunity for this lift cylinder diagnostic check, just to double check. Again, NOAA now has the option to say yes or no to this diagnostic check, and he likes what he's seen from the data, so he's going to include that in the quote. And when he clicks next, we go to this discount screen, but we will come back to communicating this decision to the client in a minute when we start to generate the quote and send it off to Simon. With the quote essentially put together, we are able to set a discount. Now, Diab Drives company-wide has a policy that any discount of higher than 10% needs to be confirmed, needs to be approved by a manager. Because this is an equipment, this is a product down response quote, the predictive AI is registering that we want to do things as quick as possible. So the discount is going to be below 10%. Reducing the amount of names that it has to bounce between on the back end so that NOAA can just send this off immediately rather than needing to get it approved by a manager. Again, this is recommended. NOAA can choose to set his own discount rate, and we have some selections down here. So whether to apply the recommended discount and then whether to automate the quote details. So we're going to leave both of those up. We click quote, and now we are generating that quote. We can open it here and we'll just complete this flow. And we can see the quote generated right here with all the information that we needed, that we pulled in. We've got our quote lines, as you can see, with the fuel filter, the fuel injector, the standard repair labor, and then that diagnostic check that was added in as well. We've got, again, some prediction analysis here. So how long quotes are typically open across our average of other customers versus this customer. Again, reinforcing that fact that this is a good, responsive, quick to the table customer, which might encourage NOAA to do the same, to emulate the same. I don't want to take up too much time. I want to make sure we have time to hit all of this. So I'm just going to go straight to generate document, but suffice to say that the quote has pulled in information from the case, from Simon's custom contact, from the account, and has generated all of that properly. So on NOAA's end, we're going to generate a document for the quote before sending it off to Simon. And we can just take a quick second to preview that item. And we can see that everything has been pulled in. We've got those 4 quote lines, and then we've got some notes here. And again, this is saying, okay, so we're going to pull in data on based off of why we recommended each of these times to why we recommend each of these pieces to pull into the quote. And as well, we've highlighted pulling in that diagnostic check and explaining why it's been pulled in and explaining everything around that, so that when this is sent to Simon, there doesn't need to be back and forth. He can just read the quote, immediately understand, and he can either approve or reject the quote as is necessary. Now, the remainder of this process is just sending that quote off to Simon, Simon being able to approve or reject it, being supplied with all of the information and being able to make that decision right away effectively. And then that approved quote, hopefully automatically generating an order for invoicing purposes and a work order for the completion of the actual repair involvement. So with all of that in mind, the back and forth being automated and setting off several other processes, I do want to take some time to talk about metrics. So I'm going to jump from here to our Einstein dashboard that we've created, which highlights a couple of metrics. We've got Einstein bot metrics and we've got Einstein next best action metrics. The bot metrics is essentially a key aspect to gauging both the effectiveness and the adoption of our Einstein features. On this side, we can see how many times our AI bot transferred customers to service agents. We can see the average length of customer sessions, and we can see the number of sessions the chatbot resolved without any involvement of a service agent. This is super valuable because we are able to know how much time we are saving our service agents so that they can focus on higher priority issues, and also shows how much the customers are helped and how much quicker they are helped by being resolved through a chatbot experience. On the other side of things, next best actions, we get insight into how well the user adoption is going on that front. So we can see the number of next best actions that were recommended, that were provided, how many times they were accepted or rejected, which ones were regularly accepted or rejected, so that we can start to adapt how those next best actions are suggested and start to either eliminate or adapt ones that are regularly rejected. And this is a great way of easily and without much need to send out services or anything like that, get internal feedback on these processes that we're working towards using AI in our service and support processes. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that you enjoyed the demo, and I will hand it back to our moderator, Stephen.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. I mean, definitely, we can see a lot of AI in the interactions, in the predictions and the recommendations, and again, just fundamentally all the data that is feeding, right, the various stages of that demo, and all the data that these service organizations have. With that, we are coming to an end to our webinar. So we do thank everyone again. Just a little blurb here about The Absolute. We have been around for over 20 years. We are an only Salesforce shop. We are one of their top partners. We have many locations across Canada and the US with some global customers as well. We have nearly, I think, 500 certifications at this point, with nearly 150 resources across the globe. And honestly, we pride ourselves on satisfaction. Making every customer a reference is our motto here at The Absolute. So we treat every one of our interactions like it's family. Honestly, that's what I can say about my company here. So again, thank you everyone for your time. For those who missed it, you will get the recording as long as you're registered. Please share this with your peers and colleagues, and reach out to myself or anyone here on this panelist board for any questions or concerns, comments, or anything like that. With that, with the last 2 minutes, we'll open this up for Q&A.
Thank you, Stephen. So I know we're probably going to go over time. If you can't stay, that's okay. But like we said, we are going to share the recording with you. So if you want to hear the tail end and any questions that we received answered, you'll get it in the recording. So I have two questions, actually, and they're quite interesting. We're facing internal resistance to embracing AI strategies. How can we effectively address our stakeholders' concerns and pave the way for successful adoption?
Wow, it's a pretty good question. What can I say, Internal resistance, it's going to be common, right? It's definitely a new piece of technology in the space. Some customers might feel like they're pioneering in this space, that they're alone. That's really not the case. I think if you talk to Nick or Salesforce as a solution vendor, if you talk to a solution integrator like The Absolute, you're going to hear about stories of many customers that are already embarked on this journey. To specifically face that internal resistance, I think speak with these folks, collaborate with them, hear them out, right? Like, what is the resistance? Where is it coming from? Try to find a space where they can also see the value in AI. I think taking the time to plan and to talk about these things, to even set up a steering committee, right, to really address some of that resistance, that friction, this is your best path forward. Nick, do you have anything to say about that question?
No, I think you put it very, very well. Like, from the perspective of AI, it is absolutely the best path forward when we're looking at trying to improve efficiency, improve the productivity of any of your service members, trying to address any needs that your customers have. It all comes down to being able to increase that customer satisfaction, increase that first time fix rate. All of those areas are key points in being able to achieve optimal productivity for your end customers.
Great. Thank you, Nick.
Great. Wow. I'm learning a lot of stuff. I didn't know you can put ingredients from your fridge for a recipe. So thank you for that tip, Peter. All right, the next question was, we're hesitant about adopting AI in the near future. Are there gradual steps or low effort approaches to ease into AI integration?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are a lot of low-hanging fruit, right? Like there doesn't need to be a massive investment of dollars nor time to have quick, easy wins in AI. I mean, today you saw some stuff with bots, you saw some stuff with predictions, some upsell opportunities. Maybe these are already existing pieces of technology or process within your organization. So trying to maybe take the time to plan like where would be the most effective place to start. And if you're not sure, again, talk to folks like the Absolute or Salesforce, right? You know, Nick and I will jump on a call with you guys anytime and really listen to what you have going on and recommend, you know, where can we start from a low hanging fruit perspective to give you those easy wins to bolster further confidence of AI within your organization. Nick, anything to add to that question?
No, I think you said it very well, Stephen. I don't have anything for that one.
Sure. Maybe I'll ask Peter anything to mention about that.
I think the only thing to say is that when it comes to initial adoption, I think that there's a lot of conversations around including AI that are very like robot overlord discussion or removing jobs. And I think what's really important and what we tried to really highlight in this whole webinar and this whole conversation is the fact that in all cases that we work on, AI is not removing jobs from the industry. It is removing the redundant, boring, annoying aspects of people's work so that they can do the things that they actually took the job for. When it comes to customer support, you're not necessarily wanting to hunt through pages and pages of knowledge articles to be able to support your customer. You're wanting to have a successful and a beneficial conversation with them where you have all the information and you feel very helpful and they feel helped and supported. And using AI like that, I think any level of adoption, it's important to be clear on that front that it is intended to remove the redundant, monotonous, boring aspects of your work and let you focus on the stuff that you care about, that you want to be working on, that requires the human touch.
Well said. I guess with that, you know, figure out what's the boring part of your job and go ask your boss, how can I replace this with AI perhaps? But that's just it, right? There is AI. There's a solution with artificial intelligence for things as simple as sifting through an article to things as complex as predicting, you know, when a transformer or when an oil pipeline or even when, you know, a TV in someone's home is going to break so that we can get ahead of it.
Great. Well, with that, listen, if you're ever interested in, hearing Stephen and Peter chit chat over coffee, you can always learn about other digital solutions. You could hear the full podcast series on AI. So there's a link there. We'll share with you with the recording as well. If you've missed any past episodes, all the recordings are available on the website page. And with that, we come to the end of our webinar. So thank you for those of you who stayed on a little bit longer. We appreciate you participating in today's webinar. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Peter. But most of all, thank you, Nick, for attending today's webinar as a guest. We appreciate your time. And thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.